In the beginning, the main character points his sword at the Demon King. The Demon King tells him that he is a strong fighter who can even compete with God. Since then, he's been low-diffing his whole army by himself, like a PE teacher playing basketball with elementary school kids. After he's done, the Demon King zips our main character's trousers back up. Our main character Lloyd said goodbye to the Demon King, and the Demon King said goodbye to our main character. Then he stabs him, and we see the Demon King's daughter crying because she saw her father get stabbed by a man's hard, long sword. This made the girl so angry she had never been angry before. She says she will kill Lloyd one day. Another 6 months passed, and Lloyd returned to the kingdom. Just being there made all the girls wet their pants like it was an aquarium. He meets the king, who looks like a walking, or maybe a sitting heart attack, since this guy doesn't seem to be able to do much more than walking to the fridge. In exchange for giving him a big piece of land and a huge mansion, the king hails him for beating the Demon King. The king tells him that the land he gave him is home to a scary monster. Since his top army was blown away, the king asks Lloyd to kill the monster that lives there, and our boy agrees. Lloyd left, and the king's helper told him that the land he gave Lloyd is drier than when my crush answers my texts. After having a heart attack, tells his helper that it's okay because he didn't tell Lloyd that the Dragon King lives in the land he just sent him to. It is said that the Dragon King lives forever and can destroy a whole country in one night. The king then says that he sent Lloyd there to die because Lloyd is too damn strong. At first, he sent Lloyd to fight the Demon King so that they could kill each other. But Lloyd is built differently because the Demon King is just food for him. After a month, Lloyd starts to understand that he is being sent away. However, he was expecting this from the king because he knows how powerful he is and that the king was probably scared of him. Then there's a quick flashback to how Lloyd became this powerful being. It turns out that he volunteered to be a part of some kind of body modification experiment, which was done by a guy who looks like a psychopath who was cooking up another doomsday in a sketchy meth lab. After they cut open his chest and put in an Iron Man, he turned into Saitama from his verse. Even though he's not as strong as him, he's still pretty strong, and what's more, he gets to keep his hair. That being said, I'd say this is a clear win. But, like Saitama, Lloyd has too much power and has lost sight of what life is all about. He feels like he's just a tool used to kill people. He drops him off, and just as the guy turns around, Lloyd is gone. When he gets to Emtia, Robier, he walks into the tunnel and is met by the Dragon King. The dragon tells him to move away or be killed, but Lloyd says, "Nah, fam, I'm here to clap you in more than one way," and he pulls out his huge sword. Lloyd makes an energy shield to protect himself when the dragon spits flames at him. The dragon is shocked to find that there is a human energy that can fight her flames. Suddenly, the song, "Can You Feel My Heart," starts playing, and Lloyd tells the dragon that she can't break him because his body is already broken. The dragon has never heard such a banger before, so she gets scared and tries to hit our boy with her tail, but Lloyd easily stops her with one hand. T then throws away his sword because he wants to be kind and give away free knuckle sandwiches. He pumps up his fist and hits the dragon with one of his fiercest moves, an angry punch like no other. This made the dragon fly without her wings even having to be used. When the smoke cleared, Lloyd walked out looking like a total loser, and this time he had Metamorphosis playing. This is also a banger, and the dragon couldn't handle how hot it sounds. Lloyd tells the dragon to leave the tunnel and that he won't chase her, but the dragon won't give up and tells Lloyd to kill her. Lloyd then asks her why she didn't stand up and fight, since all of her charges could have been easily blocked if he had just taken a step back. After some time, he realizes that the dragon's main goal is not to kill people, but to scare them away. Because the king told Lloyd to stop monsters from killing innocent people, the dragon won't agree. Lloyd then walks away, but the dragon didn't kill anyone, so the order doesn't exist. The dragon asks him why he wouldn't kill her since a dragon's body is worth a lot of money. Lloyd agrees that he could buy a whole country with her body. But he's already killed too many people, so he doesn't want to kill anymore. Because our boy is always so dark and tense, the dragon starts to worry about him, almost like he was from the world of DC. Lloyd says he is a fighter, and that he is now a threat to humanity because he easily beat the fake Demon King. He is sure that the king sent him here so that they can kill each other. The dragon then asks him why he accepted it if he knew the king's plan. He says that he is just a tool and that his life has no point, which the dragon hates. He went outside to say goodbye to the dragon, but she stopped him and a bright light came from her. Lloyd figures out that it's a person. The person then says her name is Evelys and that she can lock me up in her basement and tie me up. Without giving it much thought, she asks him to move in with her after she hears his name. Lloyd looks at her and she told him, "I bet he's mesmerized by her beauty, since no human male can resist her." She's right, because I would do sneaky things to get a dragon mommy. However, Lloyd is amazed that he can now see how a dragon that big could fit through a hole that small. Evelys starts to worry because Lloyd isn't interested in her looks. Lloyd then asks her what she meant when she said she wanted to live with him. It would be embarrassing for her to say it again, so she starts to blush. Our boy told her, "Okay, bro, I won't force you," and bro began to walk away. He is stopped by Evelys, who tells him to marry her. Our boy accepted her offer faster than I failed No Nut November. Lloyd suggests that they move in together, but she tells him no and asks him to listen to her story too. She said that there used to be a lot of dragons in this land until she found a human who had passed out nearby. She helped them out of kindness, and the man offered to be her friend. There was friendship between the dragons and people. The dragons would watch over the trade wagons, and the people would give the dragons minerals that they liked. This time, though, after eating the minerals, all but one of the dragons passed out. The humans planned to kill all the dragons because it turns out the minerals are poison. Since they no longer need her protection, and when she saw the little guy's head separated from its body like a stuffed animal, she lost it right away and set the whole thing on fire. Since then, everyone has called her the cruel Dragon King, and she punishes herself by living a lonely life by herself. Then she asks Lloyd to move in with her, and he said yes. After grabbing her hand and calling her his wife, he tells them to leave. He then picks her up and, like the speed of light, speeds out of there and into their home. Evelys got excited, so she tells him to just call her Eve. She then tells Lloyd that since they are now married, she wants him to make her smile a lot. Lloyd, on the other hand, is always emotionless. Lloyd sits in his bedroom and thinks about whether someone like him should have a family since he couldn't keep his family safe. Now and then, Eve knocks on his door. As she opens it and walks in, I feel a wet spot appear on my trousers. He says yes, and she crawls up to his bed and begs him to be gentle with her. "I just want my head squashed between those thighs," she says. Even though it was morning, our boy wasn't awake because Eve is having a fit because they slept in the same bed. He didn't do anything. Our boy still didn't know what move she wanted him to make on her, so she threw her hands at him. Lloyd caught her and told her to tell him what she wanted from him. She feels bad about herself and tells him she wants him to put his heroic sword deep inside her straight lips. Lloyd then asks her if it's okay, since that's something people only do when they love each other. Eve gets red in the face. Lloyd told her that he could give it to her if she wanted it. She turned bright red and flew away. She spawns in her clothes and tells him they'll do it when they fall in love. Then she flies off to make a nice meal. When she comes back, she has rocks and a big chicken. Lloyd told her that people don't eat rocks after he tried the mineral. Then she tries the chicken, but our boy turns into Gordon Ramsay after one bite and tells her it's awfully raw. Eve offers to fix it, and then she lets out a huge amount of fire. Lloyd took a bite, and it tasted like ashes, but he still says it's tasty. Eve also took a bite, and she agrees that this crap is bad. Lloyd said that the fact that she cooked it for him made it taste even better. "I'm not a Master Chef winner, but I think that's not cooking." but Eve wouldn't let her pride as a wife, so she asks him to show her what she's missing on that dish. Lloyd said that she still needs a few things, like the goddamn chicken, which was burned into dust and pieces. But because he's simple and nice, he just tells her she needs more salt. She asks Lloyd where she can get that, and he tells her to go to town. Just as she's about to leave, he tells her she needs money for it. It turns out she's never been grocery shopping before, so she asks him to go with her. In her dragon form, she changes, and our boy rides her. When they got there, Eve changed back into a person so that no one would see them. When she sees the town, her eyes light up. Since Lloyd wouldn't let her try his, she went straight to the meat shop and tried that thick, juicy meat. Now she's hooked. They kept looking for things, and Eve suggested that they look around since they were already here. They went into a clothing store, where she tried on some clothes and asked Lloyd how they looked. Talking to Lloyd was like talking to a rock. Even Chad Pete would have more feelings than this guy. After trying on a lot of clothes, she left without buying anything, and she told them that her clothes are made of energy and that she can easily make new ones after memorizing the designs. Lloyd calls her cheap for this, which shocks her, and she gets angry. They went for another round because the sun was still up, and after buying everything, they went to a restaurant where Eve came to learn about human food. By the time she took a bite of the chicken, she realized that Lloyd still had the same look on his face as the time he ate her burnt chicken. Then she sees a couple feeding each other. As she tries to feed Lloyd, she tells him to open wide. But Lloyd says, "Nah bro, I'm good. I can use these hands to wipe my ass crack after a hard session, so I'm pretty sure I can also use these hands to feed myself." Eve was shocked and put her face on the table, wondering why he always has giant Chad music playing when he talks. In their love life, she starts to lose hope. But all of a sudden, they hear trouble. The workers were getting a customer mad because they brought in cheap wine, and bro held his wife hostage. He told him he'd forgive him if he paid him money, and then he gave him his wife. The guy said, "Hell no," and just as Lloyd was about to hit him in the head, he stepped in and stopped the blow. He then told him that there would be no ugly bastard NTR action. He sent in his little boy band because he thought they could take care of him after seeing how easily his weapon was crushed like it was paper. Eve grabs the metal piece that Lloyd is about to throw away and tells him not to break down the whole shop. He gets hit by the little guy, but our boy just stands there and takes it like it's nothing. Then he hit them so hard that I have no idea what happened to them. That ugly old guy tells him to back off, but Lloyd gives him a knuckle sandwich right before he can finish his sentence, taking him flying. He gets compliments from everyone, and Eve starts to brag about how cool her husband is. When the knights show up, Lloyd gives them the Boy Scouts. The knights then ask him his name and find out that he is Lloyd Blanc. The person who beat the Demon King got totally pumped up and joined in the praise. Lloyd gives them a report on the job being done and tells them to give it to Mr. Heart Attack. Now that everyone knows he beat the Demon King, more and more people join in. Eve was getting too hot in the crowd, so she tells him and her to leave. The guy Lloyd saved showed him how to get out through the back door. The guy thanked them, and Lloyd told the guy not to act tough because he was a jerk and could die. But the man said that the thought of that ugly jerk taking his wife away hurts him much more than these injuries. Before they leave, the man's wife gives them 2 sandwiches, because she knows Lloyd is always giving them away for free. To repay him, she wants to do the same. They left, and as they walked away, Lloyd called her name and stuffed the sandwich in her mouth. Lloyd says he was just feeding Eve because he just realized that's what husbands and wives do. Eve asks him what he's doing. She blushes and likes that Lloyd is also trying to be with someone, not just her. She smiled at him and told him, "It tastes great." Lloyd tells Eve that he's going to work out every day in the morning, and her chicken is still raw. Lloyd asks Eve if she wants to go with him. Eve happily said yes and went to pack her grilled chicken to go with him. Lloyd tells her that running there is also part of the workout, so they'll go. After that, Bro ran off like Superman. Eve couldn't catch up with him in the end, so he's being trained by himself. Lloyd came home, and Eve yelled at him for leaving her alone in the bush. She had tears in her eyes. She hits him hard and nibbles on his head. The next morning, Lloyd tells Eve that the king has gotten his report. This makes Eve sweat, and she asks him what he wrote to the king. The king goes crazy with fear when he learns that the best hero is married to the Dragon King. It's almost like he sees treadmills and vegetables. He wants them killed, and he has a plan ready for them. Eve yells at him, but only because what he wrote in the report is embarrassing. Then a knight shows up and gives Lloyd a new order. He has been told to kill the Wand of Redemption terror group. Lloyd tells Eve that these guys are basically mages. This makes Eve laugh, because mages are jerks when you get close to them. The report does say that there is someone in the group who is known as the Witch of Calamity and is said to be as powerful as the Dragon King. She tells him to ignore the order because he's probably just trying to kill them. This makes Eve freak out because she won't stand for this kind of abuse. Lloyd says he'll do what the king says, and Eve gives him the same look that all girls give me when they see me. She also tells him that he doesn't have to follow the king anymore because he beat the Demon King. They were hurting other people with the Wand of Forgiveness, so he said he would stop them. Eve sighed and told him she was going to go with him if that was the case. With Eve by his side, Lloyd and she got to the spot, which was just a floaty ball of junk. Eve said she was going to break that thing down really quickly, so she flew at it head first and almost broke her neck. It turns out it's stronger than it looks. After that, the barrier starts to shoot magic at them. Lloyd asks Eve to lend him a foot, and Bro jumps off of her foot, flies at the barrier, and punches it right through, breaking everything. But then more artillery comes, but Eve flies in and sets them all on fire. She looks at Lloyd and then falls on him. She told him he should have warned her first because the jump was too strong and made her head spin. The cult member shows up and tells them to tell the founder and the witch about the bad news. Lloyd thinks back to the person who said they were as strong as the Dragon King. When Eve heard this, she got really mad, and as the group members called up their golem, Eve hit them hard. I would do awful things to be hit by her too. Lloyd praised her briefly, and then the guys sent in more golems. After that, Eve tells him to go ahead and takes care of them. So she hits them hard because this business doesn't value the dragon mommy enough and thinks they can beat her with some moving rocks. When Lloyd runs through the opening, a sword is thrown at him. He avoids it, and the person who threw it is the guard for the founder. All of a sudden, the sword flew back and hit our boy in the back, cutting him. The guy then got excited and said he would kill him. The man took off his mask to show his scar, which he thought was a sign from the gods. He tells Lloyd that people who use mana are better than everyone else and asks Lloyd to join the Little Mickey Mouse Wizard Club since he is also a mana user. Not Lloyd, though. He doesn't care about their clubhouse at all. The guy puts on an angry face and throws a bunch of swords at our boy. He ate them all like they were apple slices on a Happy Meal. He then charges at the man and tells him it would be faster to just eat all the knives and get better. Then he tells him that the scar on his face doesn't change the way he looks or anything. In fact, it's the opposite. That's a sign of mana poisoning, which happens when someone takes in too much mana and their body can't handle it. He told the guy to open wide and gave him a free taste of his knuckle sandwich. It's Lloyd who goes through the hole and meets the Witch of Disaster.